now free to move around the world. Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 237th episode of the Sales Podcast. I am Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Did you listen to Dr. Ron Eccles in number 236? If you did not, you should. He was a very successful chiropractor, had $1 million practice, and then he shattered his wrist. He could not do his job anymore. He had to reinvent himself. Now, a lot of people would use that as an excuse, right? Lick their wounds, go home, call it a day. Ron did not do that. He has built an inspirational life, and you will get a lot out of that episode. You can go to thesaleswhisperer.com/session 236 to get those notes. Today we have Miss Kim Burke, all the way from Australia, although she is traveling the world. And we recorded this. She was in Florida, I think. Then we met up in California. So Ron, Kim, we've got Anthony Amos coming up later this week, are all people that I met in a very high-level mastermind in Tampa that I attended back in late January. Then I joined for a year. So we shall see how that goes. But just hanging out with these people for several days, getting to know them, hearing their stories, it was inspirational. And Kim will bring it up, but we talk about if you want to change what's going on in your life, you got to change your peer group, right? Jim Rohn talked about it. You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Kim has a very inspirational story, so I won't steal her thunder. But related to that, you've heard me talk about I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now for, 5 weeks. Still sore as all get out. You talk about changing your peer group. I was invited by a friend of mine, and he was the only guy that I knew before attending. And as I've gotten to know everybody in the group, in the dojo, in the class, you talk about a different peer group. The leader is Brazilian. There are people, blacks, Hispanics. Gimo was at the house yesterday. He's from Mexico. We're working on some things, a brand new venture, not necessarily a brand new venture, but something I've wanted to do for a long time. He's helping me take it to the next level. Women, kids, they have kids groups, and some of the older kids roll with the adults. There are former prisoners. There are law enforcement, former Navy SEALs, firemen. Oh, man, who else? Filipinos. You name it. I'm meeting all of these different people. And you know what? We don't talk politics. We don't talk about business. Everything's equal on the mat, right? All that matters is your effort and your skills, and are you developing? And it's interesting, been there 5 weeks roughly, and I'm moving along. I'm progressing at roughly the same rate as everybody else. So I feel like I'm not progressing, right? Because people that have been there longer, I can't beat, at least not yet. And but all of a sudden now, some new people start coming in. And so they pair me up with some of the new guys, and I beat them easily. And then we start to realize skills are developing. But if you compare yourself to everyone around you that you've always been around, you may be beating yourself up, right? Beating yourself down, because it's all relative. And so who is helping you determine and measure your actual progress? It's the old adage, it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle, right? I have noticed when I roll with some junior people, but still been there longer than me, like they still beat me, but it takes them longer to beat me. So I knew a little bit what's going on. There was a little progress. But to see how confident I am with a brand new person, it kind of reinforces and inspires, right? Like, okay, this stuff is starting to stick. But I've always talked about that. I learned years ago when I was a stockbroker in 1997. We had this mutual fund company come in. And I always remember this guy saying that as investors, we overestimate the types of returns we can achieve in a year, but we underestimate what we can achieve in 5. And I see that in all walks of life, in all endeavors. People overestimate what they can achieve in their business. Oh, I'm going to buy this website. I've got access to this product. I'm going to reinvent this thing and launch it, and it's going to make me $1 million, and it's going to be fantastic. And the reality is nowhere near that. Maybe it still is a successful business. Maybe it is worth pursuing, but it's going to take 3 years or 5 years to really blow up. But how many people stick it out? Just like jiu-jitsu. I mean, I am still sore. I leaned up, get out of bed this morning. My back hurts. My lower back hurts. And, they say most people quit within 90 days. Most people don't even return after their first visit, but most don't stick it out the 90 days to really, literally harden up your body. We have blisters on the tops of our feet from rolling on the mat. But knuckles hurt. My wrist and hand was actually cramping Friday when I got back. My knee hurts. Oh, man, my neck hurts. I almost feel like I was in a car wreck because I can't turn completely side to side unless I take a couple days off and let things ease back in. And some people would think, why the heck would I ever do something like that? And maybe this isn't your thing, but you do need to push yourself. You need to get out of your comfort zone. And also, one of these benefits is in 5.5 weeks, I've lost 5 or 6 pounds. And I wasn't necessarily trying to lose weight, but I'm certainly not trying to keep on the weight, so I'm around 229. I was probably 235. I wouldn't mind being 220. So I might get there. Gmo came to the house yesterday. He's lost 30 pounds. And he's only like, I think 5'8", he said. So he was over 202 pounds. So he was a chunky monkey and lost 30 pounds doing this. So you'll get in shape. But also, I think we get soft as a society. And I think it happens in all societies that as we get stronger, right, as a nation, more quote-unquote successful, people have the luxury of being soft. And there's something to having a physical challenge. I remember, 3 years ago, so what is this, 2017, 16, 15, so really technically 2 years ago, right? But it was officially 3 swims ago when I did the Tampa Bay Frogman swim for the first time. Swam across Tampa Bay. I'd never done an open water swim. And I signed up for it. I knew I would do it. Didn't know how. Trained for 6 months. Panicked when I got out there, but didn't stop. But looking forward to that physical challenge, it changed my life. It changed what I did day to day. It gave me focus to my workout routines. It gave me a cause to support that was bigger than me. And I was proud when I finished that swim the first time. Last year we did it. It was weathered out, so we just got to drink beer, so that was all right. But then I just did it again this past January, so for the second time, and I was so much more confident this time going in. I started out better, despite having a stronger current kind of in our face. Still felt good finishing, and stopped along the way. We did some selfies. We did some Facebook Live videos. So, because it's a fundraiser, right? It's not a race. So just continue to help get the word out. But having that bigger challenge, having something to push me, it changed everything else that I do in my life. So what are you allowing to motivate you and drive you? Do you have something bigger? Because we can get all consumed in work. We can get all consumed in driving kids back and forth to practice. We can get all consumed in trying to save the world on Facebook. And there's just more out there. And if you don't think you have time, let me challenge you on this. I've got 7 kids. I work from home, running my own business. I'm finding the time. You make the time for what's important. And that's another thing you've got to do is pay yourself first, both in money and in life experiences. I now set my schedule. Okay? In the morning, I do some writing. I get up early. I go to daily mass. Now I have jiu-jitsu penciled in midday. So, for 2 hours, I leave. And I don't take calls, don't have appointments. So I pay myself first. Then I work around it. And you may think, well, that's good for you. I don't work for myself. Things are tougher, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get it. So sign up for the evening classes. There's classes at 6 and at 7. So pencil that in. Oh, well, my kids have soccer and baseball. Okay, I get it. So do my kids. But you can't miss your entire life for their life. Okay, so maybe you go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Maybe that's when your kid has practice. Okay, so you go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Maybe you talk to your boss. Go in earlier, right? Take a longer lunch. If you want it, you can figure it out. But the main thing is you got to pay yourself first. So that means waking up earlier, reading, right? Paying your brain first, hitting the gym. Maybe it's a swim, right? Maybe that's where you start. Maybe you sign up for a half marathon. Maybe you sign up for one of those sprint triathlons. But add something physical to your life. And if you've been doing something physical, add something more physical. Because I was just bumping along in the gym for years, literally for years, just maintaining. No real growth. Didn't have a partner. Kind of went through the motions. The good news is I didn't quit, right? I kept going. So I didn't backtrack. But I wasn't advancing either. So having a group in a martial arts class like this, in jiu-jitsu, we hold each other accountable. We talk smack to one another. We check in on Facebook. We give each other grief if we don't show up. Gmo said he was coming Saturday, then he didn't, and we were messing with him on a break, and he showed up. He came late, but he showed up. And that type of accountability is going to help push you farther. So who's holding you accountable, huh? So you've heard me talk about it before, the Make Every Sale course. I'm going to hold you accountable. How are your sales? How's your website? How are your landing pages? Do you have scripts? Do you have follow-up sequences? Do you have the sales agenda? Can you handle any calling? That's a nice thing. Like with jiu-jitsu, I can see, because they said you go for 6 months and you'll basically be able to take down anybody of almost any size if they have no training. And I can see that confidence growing, right? So you could just walk into a room. You can walk in anywhere and just be present and confident because you're comfortable with yourself. Same thing in sales. I see people so nervous, so anxious. Literally tapping their hands, tapping their fingers because they're not sure what's going to happen. And while I want you to take control of every sales situation, sometimes the prospect kicks things off. That's fine. Sometimes you're literally ambushed. A call comes in, you're not ready. But through the Make Every Sale program, you will be ready. You'll be present. I have a saying that I use sometimes in the class, and I say, fear no sales call. I literally fear no sales call. One way or another, I know I can turn things around and take control of the situation. Doesn't mean I win every sale literally, okay? But I can win that engagement. And because a win is sometimes just hearing no. Getting to the point where you both know that working together is not in both of your best interests. So that's fine. It's the maybes that kill you. It's the unknowns. So if you want to eliminate the maybes, if you want to take control of every sale and fear no sales call, head on over to makeeverysale.com. If you have any questions, hit my website, hit the contact us. It comes right to me. We can schedule a quick 15-minute chat, discuss it, see if it is right for you. And if not, we can part as friends. So thanks for listening. Now let's bring on Miss Kim Burke. Kim Burke, the woman, the myth, the legend, all the way from Florida via Australia. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
I'm absolutely, awesomely amazing, and I'm very, very honored to be here with you today.
Hey, I like the way you bring the same energy on take two because my recording wasn't working, but we were into some good stuff. Unfortunately, I found out only a couple of minutes into this. But our listeners don't know that this is our second take because it's the only one they're going to hear. So you and I met just a couple weeks ago, just last week, actually. Wow, it's amazing. At the Mastermind, and I love your energy, your enthusiasm, and what you're doing with your life, how you're living it on your own terms. But for our listeners that may not know who you are, they are in for a treat. But would you mind, give us a little thumbnail sketch of who you are and what you do, and we'll dive down the rabbit hole?
Absolutely. So I am Kim Burke from the Gold Coast in Australia. Not that I spend a whole lot of time at my home these days, because I'm now a full-time tourist. I have the greatest privilege of being able to travel the world, help other people check items off their bucket list on their current budget, and just really live full-time and experience life to the max.
That is awesome. So, I was taking notes and I was listening in our earlier version, but this was not always your life, right? I mean, you've been a successful entrepreneur, but then things kind of changed, right? Can you walk us through some of your early history and then and what created this shift?
Absolutely. So my background, as you mentioned, I've always built traditional businesses and, worked very hard. I started my first business at the age of 21. I launched my own mortgage brokerage and finance company in Australia. I built that for 15 years. While I was doing that, I also built a property development, construction, and real estate business. I then sold my finance company, and then I moved into I built a recruitment agency or a staffing business in the mining industry in Australia for fly-in and fly-out workers. But around about 2.5 years ago, the universe decided to give me the reality check that I needed, and that was a not so favorable health diagnosis. So, I had some life-changing decisions I needed to make at that point, and I'm so grateful that I did, because I now have the freedom to be anywhere in the world with anyone at any time, doing whatever I want. And, I firmly believe that everything happens for a reason at the right time.
Right. And so we were getting into how, you weren't, even though you were an owner, right? You were an entrepreneur. People would think, oh, you're the boss. That's where I want to be. That's ideal. But things still were not ideal. And it kind of manifested itself, as you'd mentioned, in kind of a health scare. And you made this big shift. And we were getting into that shift. I like to play devil's advocate, because people listening to this may just be a salesperson. They may just be an aspiring entrepreneur. They're working a cubicle. They're working a day job. And they think, well, yeah, it's easy for you to make a shift because you were the owner, right? You probably were super rich and you just closed up shop, told everybody, don't come to work tomorrow because I'm going to go traveling. But that probably wasn't quite the case, right?
No, in fact, it was probably the total opposite. So, I found myself 2.5 years ago really at a crossroads in my life. And, you mentioned that the health challenge there. I believe that the body will express what the heart suppresses. And for me, I was a successful business owner and I was good at what I was doing, but I wasn't passionate about it. I would wake up every morning literally in tears because I just wasn't being fulfilled. I would say to myself, I've been put here to do something bigger than this. I would own the business, but with owning a business comes responsibilities. And, I found myself a couple of years ago starting over again because, I was at a place in my life where I'd just, dissolved a marriage that wasn't fulfilling me either. And I just wanted to do something that ultimately was a true reflection of my authentic self.
Right. So how long did it take to make that transition? Basically, you had to close your business, right?
Yes. So I would say it took it was really around 9 to 12 months that it took me to do that. I literally, when I made the decision, I woke up one day and I said, that's it. I'm shutting my business down. I didn't even think about selling it. I didn't think about, any other way. I was just, one of my mentors in life taught me that human beings are only motivated by two things, pain or pleasure. And the pain threshold for me of being unhappy and my health declining had just got too great. So I made the decision to shut the business down overnight, literally. And, probably one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Right. Okay. So, but to be clear, you made the decision overnight, but you had people and responsibilities. So it took 9 to 12 months to unwind it and do it in the proper manner, right?
Correct. We completed the contracts that we'd entered into, but right. We took on no more new business and we just scaled right back.
Did you tell your team? Did you tell just some key personnel, or was it a small team that understood, or what?
Yeah, so I've always, as a business owner, I've always believed that one of the keys to the success of any business is full transparency. And so my staff always knew who I really was. They knew my assets and also, my liabilities from the perspective of everybody has strengths and weaknesses. So I just went directly to my staff and I just told them the truth. I said, I'm unhappy and I'm unfulfilled, and this is not my mission in life. This is not what I'm here to do. And as a result, I've made this decision, and, they all supported me, and actually two of them now work with me in the business that I do every day now, which is just wonderful.
So did you know what you were going to go into, or did you just say, where I am is not good, so I'm going to change where I am and then go through the next door that opens?
Absolutely. I had no clue what I was going to do. I remember sitting at my kitchen table, crying my eyes out with my hands in my head, and I literally said, universe, please deliver me a business that allows me to be anywhere in the world at any time with anyone doing anything. I'm happy to work hard. I just need to do something that fulfills me. Right. And my wish was granted 2.5 weeks later.
So that's a great example. It's the old adage, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So the similar concept, huh?
Absolutely.
My dad always says you only get 2 opportunities in life. So when one comes knocking, are you sure this is the first or the last?
Yes, absolutely. I went to an event about 2 years ago, actually, and the gentleman who was speaking there, he said one of the keys to the success in his life is that when an opportunity is presented to him, he always says yes, because he doesn't know where that opportunity is going to lead him.
Right. The old say yes and figure out how.
Absolutely.
And that holds back a lot of people. Entrepreneurs I talk to, business owners, they want to scale, they see something coming, and like everything, there's 2 sides of the same coin. Because on the one hand, there's the old less but better, right? And you always hear Steve Jobs' story. He always said no to everything, right? Until the absolute obvious, path presented itself. And the flip side is when you get an opportunity, it's a chance to scale. And obviously, if it's within your realm of expertise. And the only reason you're saying no is because you're scared, right? Mm-hmm. Say yes, right? Say Absolutely. Yes and figure out how, because that's God's way of saying time to grow, right? You're playing too small.
100%. I actually had the opportunity last year. I worked with Jordan Belfort. I'm sure a lot of you know the Jordan. Yep. He hired me for 9 months last year to come into one of the companies that he was working with and solve some high-level business problems. And, I was sitting with him one day at lunch, and I said to him, Jordan, tell me, what are the top 3 things that have got you to where you are in life today? What are the top 3 keys to success? And he said, the number 1 key to success that I tell anyone is be prepared to fail often, and fail fast. And he said, and that's been my greatest asset. I'm not afraid to fail, but when I do fail, I either win or I learn. Right. There's no point in failure. And he said, he said, I don't have 2 other keys for you, Kim. He said, that's the goal. Just be prepared to fail, learn from it, and keep moving.
Very nice. All right. Well, after this, I have to ask you for help in getting him on the Sales Podcast, right?
Absolutely. Right.
The Wolf of Wall Street needs to meet the Sales Whisperer. I'm just saying. It's just the universe has conspired.
I will gladly connect you with JB.
Very cool. So you make this shift, and now how did you know it was right? How did you know going into this new travel venture was right?
I didn't. I didn't know it was going to be right. I threw myself into it, and I guess I applied the Jordan strategy. You know what? I'm going to give this a go. Right. And it was ultimately my heart and my intuition that told me, because I mean, travel is one of my greatest passions in life. Right. I just believe travel is the best educator in the world. Right. Because when you travel to different environments, you eat different foods, you meet different cultures, you know, people speak different languages, and you become the best version of you when you're on vacation or taking a holiday. Oh. And I just love to travel. And right. So when the travel opportunity came up, I had no clue where it was going to lead me.
Right. And you get to buy great whiskey duty free.
100%, yes.
I mean, so you got that going for you.
Yes, that and a lot more.
So you get this opportunity. Would you say you dabbled and kind of nibbled around the edges and kind of kicked the tires, or would you say you dove in?
I would say probably for the first couple of months, I dabbled. Okay. But then when I saw the traction, when I saw the impact that it was having on the people around me, my friends and family being able to do things, you know, take their kids on overseas trips, all sorts of things like that, I realized that this was really my calling, and it was my obligation to help as many people as I can have those kinds of experiences. Right.
And then, so I'm sitting here looking at your Instagram while we're talking. I see you on top of Camelback Mountain. I've been there before.
Yes. I successfully hiked Camelback a couple of weeks ago.
That's a little, that'll kind of take your breath away, won't it?
It was absolutely amazing. And the greatest part was that I said to my friends in LA, when I landed in America, I said, I'm going to Phoenix and I want to do something while I'm there. I was actually going for an event. And I said, before I leave, I was only there for like 3 or 4 days. I said, I want to do something amazing while I'm there. And they used to live in Phoenix, and they said, you must climb Camelback Mountain. And I said, great, who can take me there? They said, we'll message one of our friends. And as a result, we put a post out on Facebook, and we probably had about 150 people show up. And we all climbed Camelback together, and it was absolutely amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Love it.
And it's a workout.
Oh, yes. I had no clue what I was getting into.
Now I see pictures of sharks. I see you in the ocean. I see you some big, what is that, an eagle or falcon? But, you know, the thing that tells me that you're really brave is this 1997 versus 2017 picture of your hairstyle. So you were brave enough to post that. So you're a strong, confident woman.
That was actually a dare from one of my friends. She said, I bet you're not game enough to put that on social media. And I said, you know what? I'll do anything once. So up it went.
That's awesome. All right. So then you see the change happening and you go all in. And that was now just over 2 years ago, right?
2.5 years ago.
Yep. Okay. And then, so you commit, and then what happens?
I commit. I start to travel more. I get time freedom. I get my health back. My health improves. My happiness improves. The number one question that people ask me all the time now is they say to me, what are you doing? Are you taking some sort of a pill? Are you doing a special program? Like, what are you doing? You just look like you're glowing and you look like you're so happy. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I am. It's hard to be unhappy. You know, they like, what's your secret? People say, what skincare do you use? And I'm like, it's not skincare. It's just the internal happiness shining through. You know, when you're happy as a human being, it shows. Right. And so, you know, I say to my friends all the time, if you're not feeling the same way, you actually need to change something that you're doing, because life's too short to do the things that don't make you happy and don't fulfill you. So, you know, that's the number one question that people ask me all the time is, what are you doing? And I say, I'm just, you know, I'm traveling and having fun. Right. And I'm living full time versus working full time.
Yeah, they say everybody has ADD, and I agree, but it's adventure deficit disorder.
That's me.
Well, that's no longer you. Now you have adventure. But yeah, I think most people are just walking around living just sad, miserable little lives. You know, lives of quiet desperation, right? Instead of filling it with things that bring meaning and fulfillment. And
Absolutely.
it's
and
amazing.
My mission is to impact 1 million lives and show them that, you might have seen some of the hashtags on my Instagram there. I call myself the Make It Happen Queen.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I do that is because it's been proven time and time again that when you set a goal, visualize what it is that you want, of course, take action towards it, absolutely anything in life is possible.
Right.
And the last 2.5 years of my life is definitely, cold, hard evidence of that. I mean, only a fool doubts proof. There's so many people out there living the life that they want. Today we live in the technology era. It's not like you have to go to work Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, work 40 hours a week for someone for 40 years of your life. If you want something different in life, you've got to do something different.
Right.
And there's so many ways that you can create whatever it is that you want with a life on your terms. But unfortunately, most people are just lulled to sleep in that, they just become part of the status quo. And part of my mission is just to wake people up. Right. Just to show them there is a different way. You can live whatever life you want. You just got to be willing to go and do whatever it takes to get that.
Now, did you have to change your whole set of friends? The old adage is, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Did you see a big change there?
I did. And, that's something that I've been searching for my entire life. That's why I joined the Tony Robbins Platinum Partner Program, because I was seeking to find a like-minded peer group.
Right.
I'm not the kind of person who gets my feelings hurt easily if somebody doesn't like me. And I was just desperately wanting to find like-minded people. And thanks to, the platform that I do now, I mean, I can travel to any country around the world and find like-minded people in a heartbeat.
Right. And
you're 100% right. Your peer group ultimately determines your reality, because you become a product of your environment. And right. I'm so blessed and grateful. I always say this. I never want to be the biggest fish in the room. I always want to be a small fish in a big pond, because I strongly believe if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's where I was at 2.5 years ago. I wasn't growing.
Right.
And I wasn't growing in the areas that fulfilled me the most.
Would you say how do I pose it? Would you say the opportunity presented itself because you made the commitment to just change where you were? It's kind of like the chicken and the egg, and I want to take the objections away from listeners, because and that's why I asked you. You didn't have a path. You didn't have a plan B. You knew that plan A wasn't working, so you just stopped plan A, and were open to whatever else, right? So I mean, I don't know if it's so much a question as much as to reiterate to people: if you don't like where you are, change it. And maybe people don't have the financial well-being that you had, but I mean, what's going to happen, right? We're not going to be eaten. There's no cannibals out there waiting to eat us, right? So okay, maybe you take your kids out of private school, or maybe you have to cut your cable, or maybe you got to give a car back because you got to cut back until you figure out the next plan. But it's better than being just miserable, right?
100%. And, another one of my mentors used to say this to me. He said, Kim, you can have anything in life. You just can't have everything.
Yeah.
So you need to work out what your anything is. And, as much as I was one of those people who was asset rich and cash flow poor.
Right.
So at, 2.5 years ago, I had all this property and stuff, but it wasn't liquid. And
right.
So my focus was just making money on a weekly basis to support my lifestyle on a week-to-week basis.
Right.
Yeah, I had capital and critical mass behind me, but that was no use unless I could, liquidate it.
Right.
So, so what I share with people all the time now is there is a way for you to change your current situation, but you have to change something in order for things to change.
Right.
You see, if you want more time freedom in your life, you're going to have to invest some time. If you want some more financial freedom, you're going to have to come up with some money. I mean, it doesn't have to be a whole lot of money. I mean, I got started in what I'm doing now for $100.
Right.
Anyone can come up with $100. You can go sell some things on eBay. You can, but the problem is people put the blinkers on. And, I say this all the time. The $1 million question that I constantly ask myself on a daily basis is, how can I? Because when you ask those questions, your brain instantly goes to find a solution.
Right.
The other thing I was taught by one of my mentors was, and I did this with my when I received the health diagnosis and the treatments that I engaged in. Try something, and if it doesn't work, try something else.
Right.
And if that doesn't work, try something else. So nothing great in life ever happened overnight. And typically great things in life don't happen the first time you try to do it.
Right.
I mean, the first time you got on a bicycle and rode it, you probably fell off or you couldn't do it perfectly. But when you kept going back and trying again, you became successful at it.
Right.
The problem, in my opinion, with today's society is there's this perception of perfection. Mm-hmm. And that's ultimately what stops most people from living a fulfilled, enriched life, because they're so worried about what other people will think. They value other people's opinions more than their own life and happiness themselves, which is, in my opinion, a very, very great tragedy.
Yeah. Amen. So what was it like hanging out with Tony Robbins?
Yeah, look, Tony's a cool cat. I learned a lot from Tony, and I feel very privileged and honored that I had the opportunity to spend time with him and be in close proximity to him. I was fortunate that I actually got to spend quite a lot of time one-on-one with Tony.
Right.
And, he's an extraordinary soul. And if we all just understood a little bit more about human psychology and how we operate and our need structure, I think the world would be an amazing place.
Yeah. So the presentation you gave at our mastermind last week, did you create that on your own? Did you take an existing presentation and kind of modify it and make it your own? How did you create that? Because you wowed the room.
Well, thank you. That is a result of my life experience, my desire to educate people on the ability to have an extraordinary life. And more than anything, it's just my passion.
Right. Well, it came through.
I'm glad, because I do believe that, travel changes people's lives.
Yeah. That was awesome. All right. So for our listeners, where should we send them to learn more about you and to learn about traveling, to learn about being the best version of themselves?
Well, they can follow me through social media. My social media name is KME Living Free. That's K for Kim, M for Marie, and E for Excellent, Living Free. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram there, and you can follow me in my journey there. And you can also go to What's This Travel App, What'sThisTravel.com, What'sThisTravelApp.com, and you'll be able to see me in person live there, and see some of the lives that I've been able to impact through travel and through the platform that I'm sharing with as many people as I can all over the world.
Very nice. And we'll link to this as well. And y'all can check this out at thesaleswhisper.com/session237. So I've got all the notes from this conversation. We'll link. I may have to steal that picture of the 1997 hair. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll see what kind of mood I'm in. See what kind of like parting gifts you send me. A little bribery maybe to not share that. We shall see. Well, this has been awesome. Kim Burke, all the way from, you still in Florida now?
I'm currently in St. Petersburg in Tampa.
Yep.
And I think I'm heading to LA maybe next week. So,
cool. You going to come out for Joel's event?
I am.
Okay.
I'm going to be there.
Cool. I will see you there.
I look forward to it.
All right. Thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Cheers. What a story, huh? I don't know if I would have the guts, the courage to just shut down a successful business and walk away because I was unfulfilled. I think very few people do. It's the saying, most of us go to the grave with the song still in us. So, Kim had some issues, right? She had some things happen in her life with her mom dying and her own health scare, and she decided to do something about it. That's why she's happy, right? She's doing what she wants. She's living life on her own terms, and you have the same ability. I loved how she talked about, she was asset rich but cash flow poor. And, running the Sales Whisperer now since 2006, I can tell you cash is king. I kept expenses low early on. I still keep them low. But that gave me the ability to ride out the storm. Too many people go spend too much money when they get started. Fancy offices, leases on cars. Crazy things. You need to keep your powder dry, right? And if you've listened to this for more than a little while, you've heard various stories. Going all the way back, Cliff Ravenscraft and others, my first couple dozen interviews, the theme came out that living within your means, right? Having the cash to sustain and maintain through the rough time, through the launch, until orders and sales and clients become a regular thing. Being able to have the cash to ride it out, because when you're desperate for cash, you do desperate things. You take on clients you shouldn't take. You discount. You allow yourself to get beat up, and then you feel bad about having that client. You're disgruntled. You hold a grudge against that client for forcing you to do that bad deal. But in reality, you allowed yourself. That prospect didn't force you to take that deal. You allowed yourself to take that desperate deal. So, cash is king. Cut back, reduce your exposure and your expenses until you can sleep. There's another saying, if you wake up with someone on your mind and it's not the person sleeping next to you, then you've got to handle that situation, right? Get that person out of your life, get that deal out of your life so you can sleep well. Literally reduce your investments and your exposures and your pain in the butt clients until you can sleep. That's how you know you're doing it right. Kim sleeps well now, I bet. She sure seems rested and fun. When I saw her in California, a month ago, not even a month ago, 3 weeks ago, when I saw her in Florida a month ago. She's chipper, she's energetic, she's happy. And she wasn't before she took control of her life. Okay? The misconception is that perfection will happen. You can have anything in life. You just can't have everything. Grow or die. Change your peer group. So a lot of wisdom in this interview. So as always, go back and listen again if you miss something. And you always do miss something. It's how our brains work. You hear something and your mind kind of wanders or ponders that thought and you miss the next one. So I always recommend. I listen to podcasts at double speed. So I can listen to them a couple times. In the same amount of time I would listen to it once at regular speed. So I do that with audiobooks as well. I'll listen at sometimes triple speed, and I'll listen to it at maybe 2 or 2.5 speed, and at triple speed. So I can literally listen to it twice faster than most people can listen to it just once, and things sink in better. It's not a ploy, right? It's an actual strategy to help you grow. So another great strategy to help you grow is the Make Every Sale course, makeeverysale.com. Check it out. If you have questions, hit the contact us. You can set a 15-minute session with me at no charge, and we can see if it is right for you. Also, please subscribe. That helps with the downloads. The more downloads, the better exposure, the more this bubbles up in the iTunes and Google Play world. And the more people that can get it, the more people I can help for free. So thanks for listening. As always, remember to sell different.